Hello YouTube, this is Dazza the Cameraman. Today is Tuesday 29th of October 2013. There's been a lot of talk about a bright object in the western sky in the last little while, and we're going to take a look at that. Obviously Venus is very bright in the western sky at the moment, can be seen from anywhere in the world. Just go out in the evening and look up and you'll be sure to see it. It's the very brightest star-like object in the sky. Venus is indeed the brightest object that looks like a star. It's brighter than Jupiter, and it's also brighter than the brightest star in the sky, which is Sirius. And there's been a lot of speculation that people are seeing Venus in the sky, and that's where I'd put my money. This happens every year and a half or so as Venus comes back into the evening sky, or it's also in the morning sky at certain times of the year. And when people see it and they haven't noticed it before, maybe because they don't spend enough time outside looking at the sky as astronomers do, the first time they see it they think, wow, what's that? Is that a UFO? Or is, I've never seen anything like that before. And in my last video I covered why it is looking so bright at the moment, so you can check out that video if you want. It explains why it's so bright and why it's going to get brighter before it starts fading again. But anyway, Venus is a bright white looking object, and some people are saying no, it's not Venus that we're looking at. The object that we're looking at is red. So we're going to look at that in this video and see if we can try and identify what this object might be if it's not Venus. And I have a theory. Okay, first of all, I'm going to show you some photos that I've taken over the last few nights. Photos of the western sky. And these photos and video, which I'll show you later, were taken through a Canon EOS 60DA DSLR camera. That's the camera there, and this is a special camera in that it is intended for astrophotography. Now you can buy the ordinary EOS 60D, but this one is a DA, and the A stands for astrophotography. It has a modified infrared filter in it, which means that it is more sensitive, to hydrogen alpha light. And this brings out the reds that we see in nebulae and so on. So it is ideal for astrophotography, and any serious astronomers who are into astrophotography, some of them will have the EOS 60DA. I know several astronomers who are using the 60DA, and indeed this one was recently purchased for our Astronomical Society and Observatory. So without further ado, let's have a look at some photos that I took. Now, I took this photo probably about 7:30 PM when it was obviously still quite light. Now, you're not going to see very much here, but if I zoom in, you might be able to see this blob here, which is Venus, and it's actually out of focus because one of the problems that I had, of course, was I had a great deal of difficulty seeing it at that time of the evening because it was still very light outside. But anyway, I kept going out and checking as the sky got darker, and we can clearly see Venus here and a couple of other stars. Of course, Venus is a planet, it's not a star. Let's make that clear. And also, these photos were taken just seconds apart, but obviously the other thing that I'm doing is I'm changing ISO settings and f-stop settings and that sort of thing to get different results. Also the exposure time. So here we go, here's a nice picture of Venus. You can see it's very white, and I took quite a number of photos. You can see Scorpio there, this is the tail of the scorpion, Scorpius. Now remember that I'm in New Zealand, I'm in the southern hemisphere, so for people who are in the northern hemisphere, the familiar constellations like Scorpio are going to be upside down from my point of view. Now in this photo here, what I've done is I've scanned around the sky. I've done this several times throughout the evening. This is Venus down here, and you'll notice in the next photo it's over here, and I keep shifting it round into the corners so that we've got a reference point. We're using Venus as a reference point Remember that Venus is in the southwestern sky. We talk about it being in the western sky, but it depends on your latitude and where it is at that time, time of night, all that sort of thing. It does change. It's not exactly in the western sky at the moment. In the evening for me it's in the southwestern sky. So I'll step through these photos so we can see Venus again in the bottom left hand corner, top left hand corner, top right hand corner. So we're scanning all around the sky, and again we can see the rest of Scorpio. We saw the top end was up here, and it comes down here, and this is the head end, sorry, top end, I mean the tail end is at the top, and then it comes down, and then we've got the head end, or the pincers is down here. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you in Starry Night here. We've got Venus, and I'll turn on the constellations. Where are we? Constellations, astronomical. Okay, so we can see Scorpio here, and that's what we're seeing in this picture here. Where is it? This one here. So it curls round, and you've got the pincers there. So back to Starry Night, we've got these 3 stars here, and so I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's go back to our photos and take another look. So there's Venus moving all around the sky, making sure that I'm getting a good amount of the sky to see if we can find this object that everybody's looking at, like the cat there. Okay, and what else have we got? Now as it gets darker, obviously we're going to see a lot more stars. We've got a lot more clarity. This camera is very sensitive. It's ideal for astrophotography. Again, that's Venus in the middle, moving around. Okay, so I'm not seeing any unusual bright objects. Venus is the brightest object that we can see in the western sky. Again, this is later on, and I'm getting good clarity here. I think I had it slightly out of focus here. I could have done better on the focus with these shots. But you can see the amount of detail here. You can actually see the Milky Way here, and in fact I can even see a satellite track cutting through there. This would have been a 20-second exposure, these shots here. That's why there is so much detail in them. Okay, so once again, using Venus as a reference point, all we can see are ordinary stars. There's nothing unusual that I'm seeing. Okay, these are the 2 pointers to the Southern Cross, if you're familiar with the Southern Cross. So we've had a good look around the western sky, southwestern, northwestern sky, and I can't see anything unusual. I can see Venus, I can see lots of other stars, I can see Scorpio, I can see the Milky Way. But there's one thing that I think that people might be looking at if they're not looking at Venus. Just step through these other photos. Oh, here we go. I'll just show you these two because you probably wanted to see the horizon, just to show where we are in relation to the horizon. This is a bit later in the evening. Here's Venus, here's Scorpio down there. Okay, next images, again the horizon there. There's Scorpio again. Now if you notice in these images here, they've got these funny looking orbs. These are simply lens flares from these lights down here. You can see more orbs around here. These are just from all of these lights here. That's all that is. It's not Nibiru or Planet X or anything like that. Okay, so that's the last image that I've taken now. I'm going to go back and show you what I think people might be looking at. In fact, we can see it in this picture. Again, this is Scorpio, and here we see this very red star which is called Antares, and because of atmospheric disturbance or atmospheric turbulence, just the heat of the air causing the atmosphere to move around, we get a lot of turbulence in the air, and that causes refraction of light. Now I went out last night with the EOS 60DA and filmed Antares. This is filmed in movie crop mode, which brings it up closer, and as you can see, Antares really flashes and changes colour and dances around with the atmospheric turbulence. It was actually pretty good last night for the turbulence. It was really dancing around for me. The previous nights it was fairly stable, but the conditions were right last night that it was putting on a good display for me. Now, I suspect that this is what people are seeing in the western sky if they're not looking at Venus. As I said, Venus is a very bright white light, but Antares is very red. But then with the atmospheric disturbance, as we can see, and I'm just defocusing the camera here, so it actually brings out that the colour and the effect. You can see, you know, red and green and blue and all sorts of colours there. And to somebody who hasn't seen this sort of thing before, I guess it would look a bit strange. But that's what it is. It's just Antares. It's nothing unusual. So that's where I'd put my money. I would say that half of the people are looking at Venus and saying, oh my God, look at how bright it is, I've never seen anything like that before. And the other half are maybe looking at Antares. And because Antares is already a red star, I wanted to show you what a bright white star would look like. Now this is the star Canopus, and as you can see, even a very white looking star like Canopus will also dance around and change colour. We're seeing mostly white there, but we're also seeing red and green and blue, and obviously the motion that you're seeing there, the dancing around, a lot of that is just the breeze shaking the tripod. It was a bit windy last night. And again here I've defocused the camera and you can see all of those brilliant colours. But this is what you get when you see any bright star when it is down low on the horizon. And in fact, when I took these videos last night, both Antares and Canopus weren't actually particularly low on the horizon, but the conditions were such last night that there was quite a bit of atmospheric turbulence. So there we have it. We've got Venus and Antares. Presently Antares is around about 11 degrees away from Venus, but of course that changes every night as Venus gets higher in the sky. No doubt people will still insist that there is something in the western sky that shouldn't be there. Well, I can't see it, and if you ask any astronomer they'll tell you the same answer. In fact, I recommend that you go and join your local astronomy club. They're always welcoming new people, and you can ask any of the astronomers there if there's something strange in the western sky that shouldn't be there, and I'm sure that they'll give you the same answer. As always, do check out my Facebook discussion page, Voices of Reason to Explain X or VORTEX. I'll put a link in the description area for you. Thank you for watching.